Are you bored living a mediocre life? We were too, and we know how to change that. Each week, we'll leave our comfort zones to explore a new topic, then step onto our soapboxes, a safe space to sound off on our latest adventure. Come explore with us. All opinions are welcome. This is a mindset. This is a lifestyle. This is Siren Soapbox.
Hello and welcome, fellow explorers. Thank you for diving in with us today. Our mission is to explore beyond comfort zones. Let us inspire you to explore. Visit sirensoapbox.com. We have a link for a free month of Audible, information on upcoming challenges, how to get our coloring book, and information on our new magazine coming out in May. Join us now, guaranteed to spark some exploration. Today's challenge was created on a boat. TC was on vacation with some friends. When she inquired as to what one was doing differently, her friend told her all about some supplements she was on. This got Siren TC down the supplement rabbit hole. The internet is inconsistent with information on supplements and herbal medicine, and maybe we'll have a better understanding on today's episode if there's any sort of reason for this. Merriam-Webster defines a dietary supplement as a product taken orally that contains one or more ingredients, such as vitamins or amino acids, that are intended to supplement one's diet and are not considered food. The term vitamin was coined in 1912 by Casimir Funk, who is credited with discovering vitamins. He proposed the idea that various diseases could be cured with nutrients, and during the next few decades, he and other scientists identified various vitamins that we know today. The need for vitamins was due to early 20th century food processing techniques. People were noticing a vitamin B1 and vitamin C deficiencies, according to betternutrition.com. The Sirens each talked to the supplement super sleuth and the herbal storyteller about issues they wanted to improve upon. With their help, we had our supplements to take for a month and to see if we noticed any subjective improvements. And that is what we're going to dive into today. If at any time the conversation gets too intense, the safe word is
mango.
First up on her soapbox is Mer.
For this challenge, I asked our experts, Tom and Nancy, to recommend something that would help alleviate the chronic hip pain that I experience. There's no diagnosis there, just some unexplained hip pain. Unfortunately, there were no oral or herbal remedies that they could recommend because Wellbutrin, which I take for depression, has some adverse reactions when taken with certain supplements. And I found that fascinating. I would have never thought to look into that. So I'm so glad that we consulted with these experts before instead of trying to figure this out on our own. Tom and Nancy recommended that I use a topical treatment instead. So I've been using Shikai CD balm for just about a month now. And I do think it's providing some mild relief to the pain in my hips. This 1.65 ounce container only cost me about $20. So it ended up being a pretty cheap experiment for me as well. I didn't think this challenge was outside of my comfort zone until I was told about the drug interactions. And hearing that they wouldn't recommend an herbal supplement felt a little scary to me. It was a reminder that I should be consulting with my doc before taking anything, even if it's something over the counter. Sarah, how did you feel about taking a supplement?
Oh, I'm definitely not squeamish about taking supplements. I already take a few for a variety of different reasons. So when this episode was coming up, I wasn't against adding a supplement. I just wasn't sure what to add to my daily routine. Luckily, I guess, a few weeks before we got started, I began having some pain in the joints of my fingers. It was pretty significant and not something I had ever experienced before. I was a little worried about it, so I did see my doctor and I got some tests done. Everything came back okay. It wasn't something that needed medical or surgical intervention, so that was good. It seemed like a good opportunity, though, to try a new supplement to see if I could get some relief. I was already taking Tylenol and ibuprofen, and they weren't helping much. After our consultation with Tom and Nancy, they recommended Tart Cherry Ultra Capsules, which apparently have a lot of antioxidant properties that can help with inflammation and arthritis. I ordered the capsules and started taking them pretty much as soon as they were delivered. The recommended dosage is 3 capsules a day. Now, unlike prescribed medications, the bottle doesn't say when to take them. Do you take them all at once? Take 1 3 times a day? Start with 1 a day and work your way up? Nope, just take 3 a day. So, being a busy person who doesn't really have time to remember to do something 3 times a day, and also being someone who doesn't have time to wait for results and wants instant gratification, I jump to 3 capsules first thing in the morning, along with the rest of my supplements, minus my calcium, as recommended by Nancy and Tom. Well, my stomach was not happy. It was pretty sore and I had some killer heartburn. The Tart Cherry Ultra was the only new addition, so it was the likely culprit. I didn't want to stop taking it though, so I backed off to 1 a day, and I've now worked my way up to 2 a day in the morning, and I don't have any stomach aches. How do my fingers feel? Well, I still have one pretty stiff and swollen finger joint right there. You can see it. But before starting the Tart Cherry Ultra, I thought about my fingers all day, and I can honestly say that I hardly notice them now except for that one finger. So I'm pretty happy with this new supplement, and I plan on continuing with it. Jess, were you excited about starting your new supplement?
Well, I was pretty unsure how to feel when we were challenged with supplements. I've only ever taken daily multivitamins and didn't really notice anything when I was taking them, so I didn't do it for long. But after doing our consultation with Tom and Nancy, I was actually pretty excited because I really needed help with energy. And I didn't want to keep drinking coffee. As much as I love coffee, it was giving me heartburn and also giving me issues with my sleep. So I needed something to get me out of my afternoon slump. I ordered a chewable tablet of NADH that actually ended up being pretty yummy, and I was a little concerned about that. I expected Tums is really what I was expecting. And I just started waiting. A few days went by and I didn't notice too much of a difference, but after about a week, I noticed one afternoon that I was actually feeling okay, possibly even productive. And I've been taking these supplements for about a month and I'm really enjoying them. I have actually ordered a second bottle and I'm waiting for it to come in. I have not noticed any negative side effects, which I was pretty nervous about.
Mhm.
And I should probably still be taking a multivitamin just because I don't have the best diet, but I haven't yet found Flintstones for adults, so I don't know if that's why. So, Elsie, how did it go for you?
I have a confession, Sirens. I think I soapboxed too hard. Let me explain. The week I got back from St. Croix, I started up my supplement journey and I wanted to increase my energy. I would say I was a 5 to 7 on the 10-point scale most days. I think a lot of this is in part to not having a normal routine. A lot of days, if given the option, I would sleep too long and just not feel like I have the energy that I used to. I'm taking Dopa Plus, and according to Amazon, it supports dopamine production, daily mental function, and sharpness. I need that. But reading some of the reviews, the product had me a little bit nervous. Some people experience nausea and vomiting and some other side effects. So I'm pretty sensitive, and I knew I had to ease myself up to the recommended dosage. And after about a week, I swear I was already like a 7 to 9 on the 10-point scale. Well, about 2 weeks after starting Dopa Plus, I finally worked up to 3 pills a day. And on that same day, I ran a 7-miler for the running episode and then tried a bunch of local Kentucky foods for the local cuisine episode. Not too sure which one set me off or a combination of all 3, but boy, did I get sick. Like I said, I soapboxed way too hard. All in moderation, kids. So I took about a week off of Dopa Plus. The thought of that or running or burgoo stew just made my tummy do flip-flops for several days. I'm up to 2 pills consistently now, but with Easter last week and a few days at the Gorge, I feel like I kind of have a vacation hangover and energy is slumped again. Plus, I have my son's 8th grade graduation festivities and a move coming up, and things are just overwhelming and sapping all energy before it has a chance to start. But like the Phoenix, you got to get up and rise again. So with that being said, I am going to stick with it and see how it goes. I have an alarm set in the morning, so I remember to take him more consistently. And I'm going to take advice from our friend Paul Boynton and do things one step at a time. TC, what is your experience with supplements?
In a past life, not even going to tell you how long ago this was, I lifted weights regularly. During this time in my life, I did a lot of research on supplements and nutrition, and I took supplements, and I felt very in tune with my body. I've gotten away from lifting weights, and exercise in general is kind of hit or miss for me. I've noticed some changes that I don't love. My memory is definitely getting worse and worse, and lately my energy levels have been lower. Now, for me, this probably means I have about average energy because I am typically very high energy. I've come up with lots of ways to overcome the memory thing, but I really miss the energy. One night, while trying to fall asleep on a boat, I sent a message to the Sirens that I thought we should do an episode about supplements. I was pretty excited about the idea, and I was trying to get them just as excited. The very next day, while I'm on the boat with friends, I overheard my friends Autumn and Renee talking about a supplement that she uses for travel. Autumn was talking about some good friends of hers who she completely trusts with supplements. That sounded like the universe paving the way for an episode. Flash forward to a month ago. When we met with our supplement experts, Nan and Tom, I decided the issue I wanted to overcome was energy. The supplement they recommended for me was Dopa Plus. I did some research about it, and just as LC discovered, I discovered that it has a potential side effect of nausea. How did I do? Well, I did not experience nausea. And my energy levels, drum roll, almost back to normal. And I'm loving it. I can tell if I skip either dose during the day. I set it up for a monthly delivery. I'm sticking with it. I've been at it for about a month. It will be interesting to see if my body builds up some kind of tolerance. We'll have to see. I'm no expert after only 1 month. But for over 53 years, Tom Dedant, hope I pronounced his name correctly.
You got it close enough.
Has been avidly involved in and committed to learning about, teaching about, and living a healthy, natural, and heart-centered lifestyle. From organic farming on the Big Island of Hawaii, co-owning and operating a vegetarian restaurant in Honolulu, teaching about and providing fresh organic juices to the patients of doctors and dentists, all the way to today being a national educator and storyteller, and herbal storyteller for the #1 mushroom supplement line in the country. Tom loves his journey and encourages all those who wish to enrich their life experiences with proven natural health supporting modalities. And Nancy Angelini is the founder of Water's Edge Wellness, an integrative health practitioner, registered clinical herbalist. She has more than 30 years experience as a licensed professional educator and teacher. She is a lover of nature, animals, and plants with a penchant for food as medicine and life as an exploration. Her favorite place in the world is the Big Island of Hawaii, and she has a wild fascination with volcanoes. She knows there is no place like home after being on the road and seeing what life has to offer. Sirens, help me welcome Tom and Nancy to this episode of Siren Soapbox.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
thank
That
you.
was fun.
Well,
This
that's
was-
five out of 5. We're
It's not
Um,
bad.
and
Not
not a
bad.
single mango in sight. I just don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because the way that Tom and I work with herbs and nutrients is we ask people to also consider lifestyle changes. Of course, we didn't ask that with you. And in addition to that, we usually give very specific instructions on how to take and when to take your remedies. And of course, this was a different challenge. So we just kind of sent the remedies and said some hey, universe, help us out here. like sprinkle some fairy dust, make sure
We
you
need a
guys
favor,
are
we
safe,
need a
nobody
favor.
gets sick, and all is well. And yes, Mur, it's true that and it's one of the reasons why Tom and I do what we do, and we're relentless about it, is there are herb drug interactions and supplement drug interactions. And if you're just making a decision without someone who is skilled at what those might be, you can run into some trouble. Most of the time it's easy to fix. You just stop taking it, but sometimes it's not. And in the case of the class of pharmaceuticals that you're on, I wanted to make sure that you didn't have something that's called serotonin syndrome, which is pretty dangerous. So we decided to go topical, and I'm happy it still worked for you. So
Yeah, it seems to, it does seem to help. I wonder if it's psychosomatic, but whatever. It's $20. So
you
if it is
can't separate the
psychosomatic.
mind from the heart from the body. We're all one.
That's right.
Yeah, I did some research about it when you told me that there would be there could be some drug interactions. And that's what I found too, serotonin syndrome. And I need all of my serotonin.
Yes, you do.
Exactly.
Murray,
So-
you said you wondered if it was psychosomatic, and then Nancy said something about saying that's always a thing. But I think pretty much everything is mind over matter, which is just a natural way of saying psychosomatic. I mean, so I do know that chemicals you put in your body definitely have an effect on
for
your
sure.
body. But the mind is such a powerful thing. I don't think you can ever separate it. Even if the chemical is helping, if your mind knows it's helping, I bet your mind helps as well.
Yeah, there is
Yep.
something called the placebo effect, and it's a real thing, and you can use it, you can utilize it to help people. So yes, our minds are strong, but smell
Well, and-
isn't
and-
everything.
And especially our subconscious mind, which is things that we've been raised with. There are things that people have told us from the time we were kids that sometimes register so deeply that, for me, I can remember, my parents thought that supplements were crazy. And it took me quite an experience to suddenly realize, well, that may be their opinion, but it doesn't have to be my opinion. And so it's been off to the races ever since. So that's kind of the placebo effect that Nancy's talking about. One of the things with the placebo effect is if you really sincerely believe something is going to work, you're going to have a much higher percentage of it being successful than if you go into it thinking, oh, this is bunk, it's not going to work. You may not even be aware of the fact that it's working. Nan has a really great technique in her clinic where when she does her intake, she asks people, okay, where are you around this problem? Is it a 1? Is it a 10? Where are you? And then maybe 2 months into, her working with them, they'll be saying like, I don't think it's working. I really don't notice any difference. And then she'll say, okay, well, where are you on this problem? Are you a 1 through a 10? And they'll be like 3 or 4 points different.
Yeah.
And she'll say,
it's only a 2, or
yeah,
only a 3. And I'll say, well, if you remember 30 days ago, you were a 10 or a 9. So, but what was so great to hear all of your stories, because, it wasn't a clinical situation. It was just, it was an exploration for all of you. And in some ways you kept yourself open. You wanted to find out, well, is there any danger here? What do I expect? But the good news is that you were open to it, and you had some mild to moderate beneficial effect, which to me makes me very happy. We chose well, Tom.
And hats off to all of you, because some of you had situations where an ordinary person would have said, well, okay, that upset my stomach, I'm not going to take it anymore.
Never, right.
Or nobody told me how to take it, so I'm not going to take it because I don't want to do it if I'm unsure. And all of that you got through by just saying, well, no, this is an experiment. I'm going to give it a shot, and look at the results. We're very impressed.
Yes, very impressed. Sarah, great job with okay, maybe it was too much. Maybe more is not better.
I usually go by the theory of 1 is good, more is better, but maybe not so much.
Exactly. I think that's an American pastime. It's like, if 1 card's good, I should have maybe 5 cards.
It really works with M&Ms, but maybe not with the.
That's true. That's true. Especially if you sort them by color, then
Yeah, that's funny.
So I was curious. You had suggested that I stop taking the calcium, which I've honestly taken that forever and ever. I'm in my very, 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 very early 50s. I mean, like just barely in there. And so I'm taking calcium. And you had suggested that perhaps I stopped taking that for a little while. What was the thought behind that?
So the research has moved on, and we found that unbound calcium can actually add to um, bone spurs, calcification of joints,
Even
hardening of the
calcification of the arteries.
arteries.
Yeah.
Yeah, hardening of the arteries. And what we've learned is that bone, really, that's oversimplifying the conversation about how bone is. Bone, we think of bone as like a dried up skeleton hanging in science class, but that's not really what it is. It's a living tissue. And there's a lot that goes to osteoclastogenesis and osteoblastogenesis. So the building and breaking down and the turning over of that really incredible tissue called bone tissue. So reducing it to just calcium really is missing everything that is about the health of the bones. And we know it's very complex, and we need vitamin K, and we need vitamin D, and we need a much more complex situation where we're creating health in that process of the building and breaking down of bone. So there are a lot of newer supplements and herbs that have been found to create better bone health than just calcium. So we move away from that, especially when we start to see the joints getting large. We start to say it's possible that there could be deposition of excessive calcium in the joints of the bone. So let's stop that for just a little while and try something to work on the inflammation and reduce the inflammation. So I'm in my book, from 30 days to go from all your fingers to one finger, I'm like, that's a huge win. Huge win. You did a great job, Sarah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
and-
I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I agree.
I'm a little surprised that the manufacturer didn't give you more of a dosing
Yeah.
recommendation.
3 a day.
Because that's like I'll tell you a really quick story. The company that I used to work for made a really wonderful product called Stone Free, and it was for kidney and gallstones, and it worked amazingly well. I was their educator, and I was doing a radio show, and I mentioned on the radio show, you take 5 of these tablets a day. But I didn't say, I was
3
so
in the morning,
excited.
2 in the evening.
So like 2 months later, I was in a health food store in Texas, and this lady walks in and she hears me talking about Stone Free, and she says, "I recognize your voice." And I said, "Yeah, I was just on a radio show." And then she's, "You sent me to the hospital." And she took all 5 at once, and it exacerbated the gallstone that she was trying to get rid of. She got panicked. She called the paramedics. They took her to the hospital. They said, "No, it's okay. It's just you sort of had a little bit of a spasm going on, but don't worry about it." But it taught me a big lesson. It's like, people will take you very literally when you say take 5 a day. They're like, "Oh, okay, 5 at once." And I understand, Sarah, I'm the same way. What I used to tell people is, if it says take 3 a day or 3 times a day, most people will remember the first one in the morning.
And
And
the
if they're
last
really
one,
lucky, they'll remember the last one, but the one in the middle of the day,
forget it.
yeah.
It's really hard.
So if you're going to err on that side, you did exactly the right thing. You take 2 in the morning, and then you can work your way up to
Right.
1 in the afternoon.
Right.
See, it didn't even say take 3 times a day, because I
Just
mean,
said 3 a day.
3 daily.
Thank God it didn't say
Oh,
3 times a
God.
day. You'd be taking like 9
9,
capsules.
well, no, it just says take 3 capsules daily. So that's pretty loosey-goosey right there.
It's really
you know?
loosey-goosey.
And
As-
usually in the hands of a good herbalist or a nutritionist, they would be very specific with you and say,
Yeah.
it's called divided dosing, or take it throughout the day. It's always better to kind of, just like your meals, you wouldn't eat, although some people do eat one giant meal, it's better to have, divided meals throughout the day. So
Yeah.
usually with supplements and herbs, it's the same. If you see more than 1 a day, it usually means that you're supposed to take it with your meals, at least 2, if not 3 of your meals.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know that if they didn't put it on the label. So I absolutely hear what you're saying, Sarah, and you're right.
And again, kudos to you, because you stuck with it. Most
You
people again
did.
would say, "Well,
They
that
would have
really hurts
quit
my stomach." Yeah.
for sure, for sure. So, and the Dopa Plus, what a great product. There's an herb in there called rhodiola. Rhodiola rosea was used with the cosmonauts. It was sent up into space. It's such an incredible adaptogen, and it's very, very safe. The part of that formula that sometimes can cause a little stomach upset is the green tea. So the green tea in that formula it's just a small amount. It's less than half a cup of green tea, but it pushes the herbs. So herbs work together and they have direction as well as chemical constituents. So herbalists say that, herbs will push up or push down or move out to the skin or move into the center of the body. And so those directions are really those are specific to certain herbs. And green tea pushes out towards the skin. It can cause, perspiration, sweating, opens the pores, and that's a very energetic thing to do. But sometimes that can kind of cause this feeling of like, whoa, in the stomach, and your stomach will feel a little funny. But generally speaking, it makes that formula, it drives that formula so that it gets out to the extremity. So you feel like doing something, like being energetic in your body, in your mind. It's a beautiful formula. I've had great results with it in my practice with people who have, just fatigue, constant daytime fatigue. I sleep, but I wake up, I'm tired, I drag all day long, and I never used to be like this. And when I hear that, I love that formula. If they do well on it, they can stay on it. And rhodiola builds over time. So the beauty of that adaptogen is that the longer you take it, the better you feel. It brings you back to your homeostatic center. So I love that herb. I love that formula. It's a beautiful, beautiful formula.
Right. And rhodiola is a lot of the studies on it were done on things like long distance truck drivers and, control tower operators in airports where they're in a very stressful situation and they need to be really focused and really on. I mean, if you're a cross-country truck driver and you're driving long hours, the last thing you want is to doze off or lose consciousness. So the thing that Nancy's talking about is really important with herbs especially, but it's also now they're starting to realize that it works the same way with supplements. And that's like building a team. So as you know, in the Chinese model, Ayurvedic model, there are usually herbs that are the chief herb. They're the herb that's doing the heavy lifting. But there are supporting herbs. There are herbs that will balance out. So maybe the chief herb is really warming. So you'll have other herbs that are going to cool the body down a little bit so that it doesn't overreact. And this is one of the things why when Nancy and I started working together and we started talking and sharing information, and I realized how much she knew. That's when I said, well, we're going to go out and we're going to talk to people and you're going to be the supplement super sleuth.
He gave me that name. This has been going on for a long time.
So we talked about going down a rabbit hole, and Nancy traditionally goes down a rabbit hole and then finds the rabbit hole inside the rabbit hole inside the rabbit hole and comes back with some real carrots.
I'm a nerd. Oh, well.
Come to the right place.
Exactly. Like, oh, did you know?
It's
But with
interesting.
With the Dopa Plus, it says 3 capsules. Am I supposed to do like what Sarah was doing, or
Yes.
not doing?
Yeah,
and
and that will stop you from feeling nauseous. So 2 in the morning, 1 at lunch, or if your lull is around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, take 1 in the morning and then 2 at lunch. And I always tell people with that formula, don't take it before you go to bed. But interestingly, sometimes we need energy to sleep. A lot of people think sleeping is about sedating, and that's not true. During sleep, we're very active, and sometimes we're more active than we are during the day. Our body is repairing itself at night, hopefully, if we're getting into deep enough sleep. So we need energy to get into sleep and then go through the cycles of sleep. So a lot of people think sedate, but that sometimes doesn't work at all. Having a little bit of energy to go to bed and sleep is really how we can have good sleep. And
Right.
It's why some people, they drink a little bit of coffee before they go to bed and they sleep like the dead. And it's amazing to think like that. Yeah, for UTC, that it
same.
gives you that little bit of energy and it helps you to get into, it's an altered state. Sleep is a different state from awakeness, and you need energy to shift into that state. So that's why sometimes you'll see in really good formulas for sleep, there'll be a little bit of an energy boost, and you'll think, why is there ginseng in that formula? It doesn't make any sense. Or why did she tell me to take that formula late in the afternoon? I shouldn't take something that's going to stimulate me, but just a little bit sometimes does the trick. So
Right.
On the
and
flip
maybe-
side of that, it's probably why when people drink alcohol, they sleep poorly.
Poorly.
Because it is a
Yeah.
sedative.
exactly, you can
That's
over
interesting.
sedate. Yeah, you can over sedate. There's a lot of sugar in alcohol, but
Well, and
you can
they feel like
over-sedate.
exactly, and they feel like they're going to sleep because they pass out, but they never really get into that
To
level of
sleep.
sleep.
Right.
Right.
hmm
I gotta tell you, I sleep really well. If I drink alcohol, if I drink coffee, I pretty much almost always sleep really well. Maybe that has to do with my energy level, but also,
Right. For you, it's like bringing you down.
I know. I said it, I see it says take 3 capsules. And I'm trying to remember where I read to take 1 serving twice a day or 3 capsules twice a day, which is what I do. I take 3 in the morning and then I take 3 right around 1 or 2 in the
Yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah, that's normally when I'm giving it,
Yeah.
and I'm making that recommendation.
Okay.
And it's, yes, I'll do. I want you to take, I would start at 2 to see how they tolerate 2 twice a day, and then I would increase to 3 twice a day if
Okay,
they
good, 'cause
tolerated
that's-
it well.
That's what I'm doing. And I
Yeah.
just jumped all in at 3 twice a day.
I love
I-
it,
Fine.
TC.
And the thing is that when you train, you really want to make sure that you tell everybody that every body is different and
Mhm.
every body is different.
Mhm.
So, you've got a different body type than Mur, you've got a different body type than Sarah. And so, and a different body type than LC. So you're actually going to have a different response to the exact same formula just because of your body type. And, for you have a high energy level and you're so used to maintaining that high energy level that, for somebody else, it might be like they would
It's
be
too much.
climbing out of their skin.
Yeah, they
But
would.
for you, it's like, yes.
Yeah. When I
You know-
when I told people that the thing I was going to work on was my energy level, they're like, "Why would you bring your energy level down?" I'm like, "No, I
No.
want more energy."
And most of the time on the side of the panel of supplements, those are, we call them recommended servings.
Mhm.
And they're done by weight. Usually it's 150 pounds for
Yeah, average
the
150.
average 150 pounds, anywhere between 125 to 160. If you're a lot more than that, then they do recommend that you take more. And if you're less than that, if you're 110 pounds soaking wet, you don't want to take that much. So you also have to think about how much you weigh relative to those suggested servings on the
Yeah,
the
and- well,
packages.
and that and your metabolism. Like I happen to be,
Yeah.
I happen to be a really fast metabolizer. We're like, hummingbird metabolism here. So if I don't up my dosage, my serving size, a lot of times I'll metabolize it so quickly that it'll
Sure.
be just a flash in the pan, and then I'll be back to where I was, and it's kind of like, shucks, I thought that was working, but and then if I increase the dose, oh, okay, now it's working well.
Yeah.
So again, really, you folks are really in tune with your bodies really nicely because you did exactly the right things when you had that sort of a challenge of, okay, now what do? I don't know how many to take, or I took a whole bunch and ow, that hurt. And, and most people seriously would have just said, okay, that's it. I'm going to give them an F minus and move on.
They don't know what they're doing.
So you described it as a serving. So, I mean, a serving is something that you generally take all at once, right?
Yeah,
Or-
that's DSHEA compliance. So there are a
Yeah,
lot of
that's-
laws. We can't call them. They're not considered
drugs.
drugs. So we
Yeah.
can't say recommended dosing or dosing schedule. You have to say serving size or
Yeah.
recommendation. Even if a doctor is recommending a supplement, it's serving because of the nature of it. So
Yeah, the
My-
pharmaceutical industry has a lock on certain terminology and they keep expanding that lock. They technically, unless you're doing a homeopathic compound, which uses the word cough, technically on a supplement, you can't say this is a cough suppressant
right.
or a cough medicine because cough is a triggered word. And so with the advent of what they called DSHEA, or the Dietary Health and Supplement Education Act, there were parameters that were put out. And one of those parameters was, you cannot say dosage, because that is a medical term
Right.
that we can't use. So it does. You're exactly right, Sarah. It's very perceptive of you. It's very misleading, because when we think of a serving, it's like, if I'm going to give you a serving of mashed potatoes, I'm not going to do it 3 times in one day. I'm only going to do it once.
Right, you're gonna do it once, exactly. But yeah, it's what we have to work with. It is a little confusing, but I just try and keep reminding people, I'm asking you to take this, I'm recommending, and I'm asking. You don't have to do it, but have it. So also with the herbs, lots of times herbalists will say take it in between your meals, because herbs we call them special foods. To us, they're complex. They're so complex that they're like a special food or a superfood, if you will. So we see herbs as food, or an opportunity for food, especially spice herbs or daily herbs, not alteratives, or herbs that alter your state, but herbs that are adaptogenic, like rhodiola is an adaptogen, and I see that as a superfood, or goji berry or something like that, or mulberries. Those are herbs and foods at the same time. So serving is appropriate with that, because with herbs, you want to take them like you're eating a meal. But supplements can be a little bit different, and certain herbs are really, they're meant to alter the state that you're in, take you from one state and put you in another state. So those are stronger, and those are different.
Yep. And as you found out, Sarah, they can definitely have a response, because now tart cherry, just with the name tart, gives you this idea of, okay, this is going to be very sour and very
Right.
sort of astringent and tightening. And one of the things that tart cherry works extremely well for, I had my dad on it until he passed away. And when the caretaker would forget to give it to him, he didn't pass away from the tart cherry. Don't worry, Sarah. But he had terrible gout, and his toes would just swell up like crazy.
Yeah.
And after about a month on the tart cherry, all that swelling went down. He quit complaining. And it took the longest time for me to convince the caretaker that it was the tart cherry. She, it just went away. And I'm like,
No.
don't stop giving him the tart cherry. When she would, if she'd forget and he'd run out, because I sent it to him on a regular basis. If he ran out and he went less than, like 2 or 3 days, his gout would start to flare up again, because it was balancing that, alkalinity and acidity in his body to a point where, his joints weren't getting inflamed the way they were.
So if one of our listeners is wondering about, hey, I wonder if a supplement would be right for me. I know already in this episode, you've mentioned several times that you have to be careful what medications you're already taking. And I'm sure that it's probably not a good thing to, I'm going to quit taking this really important medication and start testing the supplement. What would you recommend that someone do if they want to give it a shot?
I always recommend that people work with a skilled practitioner. That could be a chiropractor, a naturopath, a clinical herbalist. So registered herbalist, RHAHD herbalist, will have that ability. They'll have that skill. Nutritionists. So a lot of nutritionists today are really skilled at working with supplements for sure, and some of them are darn good herbalists as well. So you want to work with someone who's in the complementary care. A lot of mainstream doctors today may have some, I would say, rudimentary knowledge about supplements, like vitamin D, B12, and that kind of thing, vitamin C, but they may know nothing about herbs, and they may not know about herb-drug interactions or drug supplement interactions. They may just blankly say, you're on that drug, don't take anything, which is unfortunate, because in some cases you can, sometimes with thyroid medication, for women on thyroid medication, they're okay to take certain herbs and supplements. So having someone who knows what those parameters are, is really the right thing to do. Don't just go on the internet and say, oh, I heard this is really good, I'm going to take it, and forget about your blood pressure medication or your cholesterol medication, or, just work with someone who knows what they're doing, and they'll tell you, okay, you can have this, but you can't have that. So.
And the other thing that you can also do, sort of as a backup, if you can't find a qualified practitioner, and really, the due diligence is on you. It's like you should be asking your practitioner, even if they're a licensed clinician, what kind of herbal education have you gotten? If you're going to be taking herbs, if you're going to be taking nutrients, what kind of education have you gotten as far as nutrients, besides an hour and a half in med school? Basically, the other thing you can do, though, is you can go to a compounding pharmacy. If you can find a compounding pharmacy in your area, those pharmacists are mixing formulas together. Specifically, they are custom formulas that they're mixing, and they are very knowledgeable about what works together and what doesn't work together. And they can talk to you about, oh, if you're on this drug, sorry, you can't take that. It's like it even gets so as complex as to say, okay, if you're on certain drugs, I'm sorry, you can't eat grapefruit.
It's true. So yeah. That's really
Right.
true. Yeah.
And then I'm also curious if you have a story, and I'm putting you a little bit on the spot here, but do you have like a super supplement / herbal story where it was just absolutely life-changing that kind of stands out to you that you could tell us about?
Okay, so we don't have to tell you about the one that died. That was life-changing.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding.
Why would you do that?
Shock.
Now we want to hear
He
that
can't
one.
help himself. He's just like, I'm gonna electrocute you.
All right, now that I have your attention.
Nobody died.
Aw.
Not in my practice.
No, there are, the thing is that there are so many ways to do things. I mean, literally, because one of the things that, as you mentioned, in sort of your intro to me, one of the things that I did in Hawaii was I was doing juicing, natural juicing. And I took for mine, because I had friends who were growing organic vegetables on the mainland. And so they would ship me organic vegetables, and I was doing vegetables and, blends out of a book by a man named Norman Walker, who was an old time juice fasting guru, who really did some amazing things. And to tell you that one of the biggest ones was simply, we had a lady who had been taking cortisone for 30 years, Japanese lady who was taking, and she had skin that looked like an old baseball glove, just all cracked and terrible. And after 3 months on, a very specific diet changes and just doing juicing to clean out her body and start replenishing the things that she really needed, she only had one little tiny patch of skin that looked like it was old and crusty and wrinkled. She had this beautiful pink new skin that she had, and that was just from juices. So, I mean, just imagine when you start concentrating herbs and so on. So like Nancy said, people can experience some pretty profound stuff when they finally get to the point where their diet is not counteracting what they're trying to do. Their lifestyle is not counteracting what they're trying to do. I mean, if you want to lose weight and you're having 5 big gulps a day, no matter what pills you're taking, you're going to have.
Yeah, right.
That's this dang Easter candy sitting over
Yeah.
here.
Oh.
Between Easter and Halloween, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, and they're almost like, they could be 6 months apart.
Right.
So I'll tell you, we had another challenge around the idea of running. And, if somebody says something about run, let's run, then I'm like, rum? Did you say rum? I'm in. I'm not a runner, but so we had a challenge where we had to run an organized run, and I did a virtual 5K. And after reading what the other person said, she's known as the struggle runner, but she got started by running a mile a day for 30 days. She challenged herself to do that.
Cool.
And I'd been taking the supplements for maybe about a week at that point. I'm like, well, I can run a mile a day for 30 days. So I'm on day 7 of running a mile for 30 days. And I got to tell you, I was trying to think for my soapbox, which came first, the energy from the supplements, or am I getting energy from running? Which one is it? And it really doesn't even matter. But I don't know that I would have taken on that 30-day challenge prior to the supplements. So whichever is doing whatever for me, it's all working out. It's good
That's
stuff.
great.
That's a great point too.
Giving you
because
your life back, right?
Mhm.
And it is a great point, because when you feel better, you are much more willing to step out and do more.
Definitely. I think so. It's
For
interesting
sure.
because, yeah, I mean, I've always been in health, and I mean, I was in a prior life, I was a ballet dancer.
She
And
actually danced for the Boston
I danced
Ballet.
for the Boston Ballet starting at the age of 12. I know, bonkers, right? I was way out. I mean, I was one of those kids who'd get on a bus and just go into Boston from, Framingham area, and I'm gonna audition for the Boston Ballet. What? My parents didn't even know where I was. Like, hey,
Oh my
where's Nancy?
God.
I have 6 sisters and a brother, and they sort of said, hey, Nancy's not at the dinner table.
Who's seen Nancy? Where's
Where
Nancy?
is she? I get back at 9 o'clock. Where you been? Oh, I thought I'd go audition for the Boston. Anyway, so that's how I was, and but I was always into wellness and health, and then I got Lyme disease. I got really sick. I got so sick. And at the time, I was 28 years old, and I was seen at Newton Wellesley Hospital, the head of rheumatology there. And they, did the normal protocol, and I had a reaction to it. And he sent me home. He said, get your affairs in order. I don't think you're going to make it. I was that sick. And it was an herbalist. And I was already into it, but this woman took me to another place. And it was an herbalist that helped me get my life back. And it's all the same stuff. And I was nervous, and I didn't believe. She'd give me this stuff, and I'd say, how can I go find this? What is this? Why do you make me take this? Dung beetle. And I mean, it was just, whacked out stuff. The casings of silkworm casings, and stuff that
Cicadas and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
and whatever.
Nancy was literally like, because she's from the Salem area, she was like, okay, when she starts saying eye of newt and lizard tail, then that's it, I'm done.
I'm not. And because I was brought up in a very traditional world, and very traditional, pre-med. My father was PhD in analytical science and food science, and we were grilled at the dining room table, and the questions were, that's the world that I grew up in. Then all of a sudden I'm in this.
Thank you so
like
much for
Tom
listening
says,
to this
"Eye of
episode of
Newt."
Siren Soapbox. And a special thank you to C Strings for providing our music.
Frog.
Snag
And,
your
I mean,
latest
I
EP from
was
iTunes
sort of in
today.
this, like, well, I
Follow
believe
the
in
Sirens on
health,
all the
healing, and
social
natural
medias,
foods,
and don't forget
eating
to
a
tell your
clean
friends
diet,
about
but
us.
this is a whole
Like
other
and
thing.
subscribe
So,
wherever
that
you listen
took
to your
me
podcast.
into that.
We'll catch you next time on
And
another
it has
episode
been
of
an
Siren
incredible
Soapbox.
journey. And even inside of my practice, I mean, it is amazing. People work hard, just like you. I mean, they think about it. They say, how many times a day do I have to take this? It's not like you take a little pill and then not think about it. You think about it, and you say, how am I doing? And, am I better? Am I worse? Am I the same? Did it upset my stomach? Did it make me vomit? Did I stay up all night with this thing? So it's a really different experience. And that is the difference between, a sickness model and a wellness model. This is a wellness model. This is a model of, checking in and having self-awareness, and, sort of saying, okay, I may not understand it, but gosh, people have been taking those herbs for 3,000 years. They must be doing something right. So, yeah. So that's my soapbox.
And it's
I love
exactly.
it. I love it.
And and it's kind of like, if you're not paying attention, you're going to end up who knows where. But if you're paying attention, like if you're driving somewhere and you're not paying attention to the road signs, and the next thing you know, you were headed for, Boston, and you end up in, Portland, Maine, something went wrong. So the same thing has to do with your food and with your lifestyle. And so many of us go into automatic pilot. And we just do it. And we don't think about it until something goes wrong down the road. And then we can't figure, it's like, then it's kind of like, why me? Why me? But if you go back and you analyze what you were eating or what your lifestyle was, or, you know, drinking, smoking, all of those things that are the wonderful American pastime habits, you can actually track back and say, you know what, I just was not paying attention. And one of the nice things about herbal medicine and supplementation is that it almost forces you to pay attention, because you're a little bit on, you know, just like Sarah with you and you know, Mur with you, it's like you're a little bit trepidatious. You're learning things like, I didn't know there were drug and herb interactions that I might have to worry about, or gosh, they didn't tell me how to take it, so I just took it all at once. Those are, yeah, I love that too, because that's me. That's totally me. And then
I love that, Sarah.
And it causes you to say, whoa, wait a minute. I think this is going to work, but I think I need to pay more attention to what I'm doing so that I do it right for my body. And, you know, and that's where a good, like Nancy was saying, if you get a good practitioner, they're going to want feedback. How are you doing on that?
Yes.
And they're going to amend it, knowing that, okay, well, your body is different than somebody else's body. And so we're going to change the way you take this.
How hard was it for me not to email everyone every other day, Tom? I kept saying, I don't know how they're doing. I can't stand this. Because I'm.
Yeah, because it's at her clinic. She's exactly the opposite. She really wants to know. She's
I tell people,
constantly on it.
text me. I'm texting people, and they're like, "You just texted me." I said, "I want to know how you're doing. I'll see you in 2 weeks, right?" And they're amazed that I actually care, but I do. You know, yeah.
Yeah, we were more of a set it and forget it kind of group.
I know, and I was back here going, no.
It was interesting. Something I hadn't thought about. We had done that running challenge, and I didn't do the run, but TC and I have been doing that mile a day challenge. And I've been a runner for quite a while, but I stopped running, and I work out every day, but I do the strider instead of running because I've had an ankle problem. And I figured I'm probably not going to be much of a runner anymore because my ankle really bothers me when I run. So I'm not going to push it. I'm just going to do the strider. I still get my cardio in, and I still burn the calories and everything. But in training for the 5K that we were going to do for the challenge, I was doing a little bit more running, and I had to be careful because my ankle bothered me. And then it's just occurred to me that in doing this mile a day, my ankle hasn't bothered me. And I'm thinking, well, shit. I'm thinking it's probably because I'm taking a freaking tart cherry. And I'm thinking, well, but that's my foot. I'm taking it from my hands. That's my foot. It can't possibly be related, right?
Whole body.
Because it's going to my fingers, not my foot. But
oh yeah, Tony, we should have given her something for her foot, Nan. Why did you just
I don't
concentrate on
know.
her fingers?
What's my problem that I would forget her feet?
so I think that's clearly having an impact there, because I've been running now. I mean, we've been doing that for over a week now,
Nice.
Tracy, and that's my ankle hasn't bothered me at all when I've been running.
And
So,
That's really cool.
So that's
that is
really-
one of the
that's really
beautiful parts
exciting.
about it. That when you take an herb, the herb has more of an understanding of where it needs to go in your body than you do. And many times a drug, because the drug is such a concentrated one compound concentrated to really high doses so that you actually feel it, because there's no balance there. It can have a way more of a strong reaction. But with herbs, there are balancing compounds in the whole herb itself that can really make it work the way it seems to be working for you. And that's not uncommon with tart cherry.
I was just so excited that I was running. I didn't even think for a second that it was
You thought you were cheating, huh?
the anti-inflammatory properties from the supplement as well. I thought I was just running
Right.
again.
Like,
Oh, this is cool.
Don't tell
So-
my
all
ankle.
your
Don't tell
joints.
my ankle.
Don't. Shh.
That's
So
really
that's
awesome.
cool.
That is
That-
really cool.
That is really fun.
Yeah.
That's incredibly fun.
Yeah, love it. Ladies, it was really wonderful working with you. As I sat at home chewing my nails off, going, how are
Yeah.
they doing? Are they okay? Is everyone all right?
Well, we
Are there
didn't really
still,
talk
are
to
there
each
still
other
5 of
about
them?
it either.
Yeah. There's usually a lot of chatter going on about each challenge that we do. And just like today and yesterday, we were talking about the fact that we haven't really been talking about this one very much. And that's interesting.
In
we didn't
fact, that's a good
Want to
sign.
spoil.
And
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. And it is exactly how it happens in my clinic. When you get better, you just forget that you felt lousy.
Yeah.
When you're better, you're just better, and you just move on in your life. So what's the point of talking about it? Because it's not an issue anymore. And
Yeah.
that's what happens a lot to my clients is they'll come in and they'll say, I don't think anything's working. And I'll go through the list. Okay, that was a 10. This is, and then they'll say, gosh, I forgot. I don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
That's true
Mhm.
resolution.
Yeah.
Right? That's true resolution. That's real healing. To me, that's what it's all about, is that
Right.
you actually forget and you just go on with your life. And that makes me happy the most.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's a real mark of whether or not it's working.
Absolutely. That you literally forget that you were that way, that other way. You forget completely.
Yeah.
Amnesia.
So the good
Well,
kind.
We really enjoyed working with you guys too.
Thank you.
And we wanted to leave our listeners with a challenge this week to maybe consider an alternative method for something you're doing or experiencing regularly. And if it's a new supplement or medication that you want to try, be sure to consult with your physician or an herbalist, somebody who's going to be able to help you through that process. Don't take that on by yourself, please.
Right. And you know, if you're looking for an herbalist in your area and you can't find one, you can go on a site called the American Herbalist Guild, or ahg.org. And they are, it's a peer-reviewed group of herbalists. So it's like the ancient European, model of having master herbalists who are trained, and they have to go through, they've got a whole group of peers that quiz them on their knowledge to make sure they really understand.
You have to
Yeah.
take boards.
Yeah. And AHG will be able to refer people to you, in your area and say, okay, go talk to this person or that person. And we're everywhere.
That's
Or
really
functional
great to know.
medicine. Yeah, or there's some functional medicine physicians too in areas, and you can see them and they'll know. They'll know what's appropriate, especially if you are on medication. Please don't do it alone. That's all.
That's the only time that, because herbs are so safe that there are very, 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 very few adverse events until they start getting mixed with drugs that they shouldn't be mixed with.
Right.
So.
Well, Tom and Nancy, thank you so much for helping us through this challenge. Do you want to tell our listeners where they can get in touch with you guys?
Sure. Tom.
Well, I am as incognito as I can get, because I'm working for a company that's like I said, the number one mushroom supplement, nutraceutical mushroom supplement company in the country, and I don't want to cross any boundaries. So, but I can be reached at theherbalstoryteller.com, and I am in the process of setting up a website and all of that. It's only been like years since I've had the sobriquet of Herbal Storyteller, but I'm finally getting around to going, okay, well, why don't I live this? And I'll let Nancy talk about her clinic.
And you can reach me at watersedgewellness.com. I'm out of Massachusetts. There are a couple of Water's Edge Wellness companies. One's a psychiatrist, but I'm the one in Massachusetts. So come visit me at www.watersedgewellness.com. Sign up for my newsletter, or just reach out to me and just say, hey, I'd love to just have a free discovery call where we just sit and talk about, what is it that you're looking for and who I am and how I work. So I like to get to know people. 15 minutes, we can just kind of see if we're right for each other. So that's how I work.
Don't be afraid if you live way outside the area. Nancy has clients that she's worked with in
all
Australia.
over the world.
So
Canada, Australia,
yeah,
Europe.
Awesome. That's the beauty of technology.
Yeah.
It totally is. It totally is.
Sirens.
Witness tonight.
Right, exactly. Sirens, I loved hearing all about your experiences too. Thank you for sharing with us. And thank you, fellow explorers, for listening to this episode. Go ahead and click like and subscribe wherever you're listening so you won't miss a single release. And don't forget to check out our website, sirensoapbox.com, where you'll find our blog and our shop and all things Siren Soapbox. And until next time, dive in, stay curious, and be happy.
Yay.
Thank you.